Imagine booking a peaceful getaway in a quiet, secluded Airbnb with your significant other. No distractions, no stress, just the two of you alone. But as night falls, you start to feel like you're not really alone. Then, the knocking starts. The shadows move, and as soon as you realize, you're being hunted. That's the terrifying setup for The Strangers Chapter 1, the latest installment in the Strangers franchise. But does the reboot bring anything new to the table, or is it just a lesser copy of the original? Let's talk about it. What's up everybody, welcome to Kill the Credits. I'm Keelan, and today we'll be getting into my spoiler review for The Strangers Chapter 1. But before we dive into that, do me a favor and be sure to hit that like button on this video and subscribe to the channel for more horror reviews and other content. And with that out of the way, let's get into my review. To start off, I just want to emphasize the love that I have for the original Strangers film. It's a movie that perfectly captures the raw and unsettling feeling and terror of a home invasion. And to me, it remains one of the most effective horror movies of its kind. And I even have love for The Strangers Prey at Night, even though it did take a different approach, leaning more into a neon-drenched 80s style. I still had fun with it, even if it did feel like it took a little dip in quality. So when I heard that not only were they rebooting the Strangers franchise, but they were going to be doing a new trilogy, I was all for it, which is why it's really disappointing for me to sit here and say that The Strangers Chapter 1 was a big flop. Now that being said, I will give credit where credit's due. This movie isn't all bad. First and foremost, I think the film had a really scary atmosphere. You know, the Strangers films, they thrive on tension, and this one does do a really great job of maintaining a creepy, foreboding atmosphere. There were moments that genuinely made me feel uneasy, which of course is exactly what you want from a film like this. Another thing that I liked is the modern integration. You know, I like how they updated the premise so that it fit more of a modern time, like using Airbnb. In my opinion, it was a smart way to make the horror feel more relevant and realistic. The third thing that I liked in this movie was the look of the Strangers. Now, in my opinion, the Strangers films don't work if the look of the Strangers doesn't look good. You know, their designs are really simple but extremely effective. The fourth thing that I enjoyed was the cinematography. Visually, this is a really well shot film. The lighting, framing, and the camera work help build suspense in a way that feels really polished and professional. And the final thing I have to say that I liked about this movie was the pacing. You know, for the most part, the movie moves at a fairly decent clip. It doesn't drag too much, and once things start going downhill, it rolls fast and the tension picks up, and it really doesn't stop for the most part. Now here's where the film really falls short for me. The number one thing that really got on my nerves was the amount of recycled moments from the first film. It was damn near a beat for beat remake at times, and you know, if you're trying to do a reboot and do something new, that's really not what you want to do, especially because the first or the original Strangers film was so iconic and had such a atmosphere to it. It's going to be really hard to replicate that, and there's no reason to really do it again because it was so well done the first time. Remaking it kind of just doesn't make sense. It's like rehashing what worked before but with less impact. And the other big thing that really got under my skin the entire time was dumb protagonist syndrome. Look, I completely understand that horror movies need characters to make mistakes in order to have the movie. I'm all for it. I'm all for relinquishing my sense of reality. Everybody always says like, oh, I would never do that, or oh, I would never do this. But people make mistakes all the time in real life, especially when they're scared. They make dumb decisions. But there's a difference between that and when they just make really, really dumb decisions that like nobody would make. Nobody would make those decisions. And if you are, like, you probably deserve to get got, you know? And there was just a lot of those moments in this film. It really just pissed me off. Like, they were making decisions like that so consistently to the point where you almost are rooting for them to just die. And you typically don't want that, especially if you're planning on doing a trilogy, meaning you want us to follow this character, this protagonist, for the next two films. You probably want us as the viewer to like that character. I like the actress, but the writing for the character was just terrible. Her decisions were awful. It really just made it hard for me to watch the movie. So my final thoughts on The Strangers Chapter 1 is that, unfortunately, it feels like a hollow retread of the original film. It is a competently made film, but ultimately it doesn't really bring anything new to the table. But I will say, if the two sequels that are supposed to be coming out after this add to the lore and expand on those characters and improve in the spaces that the first one lacks, I think overall I'll have a better impression. Kind of like the newest Halloween trilogy. When 2018 came out, I enjoyed it. When Kills came out, it made me enjoy 2018 more. And then when Nth came out, it made me enjoy kills more. If that's kind of going to be the similar thing where when the other sequels come out, overall it makes me enjoy the experience better, then I'll take it. But for now, just as a standalone, it really was disappointing. So have you seen The Strangers Chapter 1 yet? If so, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. And if there's any other horror movie that you'd like to see me review, go ahead and suggest that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. In search of a girl to call my own, not the type.